Hello, everyone. Welcome to our behavior change project. This is reducing cell phone usage using a group contingency exercise. For our behavior change study replication project, we chose to replicate reducing cell phone usage using a group contingency by the authors shown. My name is Benjamin Smith. I currently attend Ball State University and I'm looking for my BCBA designation.
My name's Bella Laughlin. I also currently attend Ball State University with the goal of becoming BCBA.
I'm Autumn Rasmussen. I'm also at Ball State, hoping to be a BCBA soon.
I'm Elise Larry. I'm also at Ball State and also hope to become a BCBA.
Louis Vanderlick, Ball State University, looking to get my BCBA.
And I'm Kelly Savage. I also attend Ball State University and am looking towards becoming a BCBA.
All right, I am going to do the background information and a little bit of our literature review. A good portion of our literature review is surrounding the Jones et al. Article, as that's the study we replicated, but we were able to find a lot of good information from supporting articles that really help support the findings in Jones. So Jones found that cell phone usage is really increasing, and especially in the classroom setting, with 64% of students admitting to texting during class time. There was a teacher in the Jones article that found that especially problematic and wanted to reduce cell phone usage in her classroom. So she conducted a meta-analysis and found that group contingencies are really the most effective way of reducing any type of challenging behavior in the general education classroom setting. In Camp's article, he defined a group contingency as a consequence being delivered to the group dependent on the behavior of one member of the group, the behavior of part of the group, or the behavior of all members of the group. Sorry, wrong slide. Yeah, in the Jones article, they utilized an ABAB design with 4 phases: baseline, group contingency, return to baseline, and return to group contingency. During the baseline phases, the teacher didn't address cell phone usage at all. She just took data on it. And then in the intervention phases, she didn't say anything in the immediate when she saw cell phone usage, but she did take data. And then at the end of the 90-minute time period, she informed students if they met the contingency or not, and would receive their reinforcement of 10 minutes of uninterrupted screen time. This was found to be highly effective in abruptly reducing cell phone usage. And it was interesting to know the students, when surveyed afterwards, said that there was a peer element to the survey or to the study, and that they really wanted to maintain positive peer approval as well as meet the group contingency. Throughout the rest of our literature review, we found a lot of information on group contingencies being super effective in improving academic behavior and on-task behavior. The good behavior game demonstrated effectiveness of group contingencies in reducing disruptive behavior through a punishments points-based system. And it was interesting to know, again, in that study, that Hartman found that there was a peer approval and cooperation element, which is kind of an added variable to the group contingencies. In the good behavior game, cell phone usage was reduced to 6%, which in turn increased engagement to 40%, which was interesting because in the Camps article, on-task behavior in baseline was at 54%, and by the end of using the group contingency, it was up to 87%. So we can just see clear examples here of how a group contingency was found to not only decrease undesired behavior, but increase desired behaviors that are incompatible.
In the Jones study in 2019, they aimed to reduce cell phone use in the classroom setting. The overall purpose of the study was to determine if a group contingency intervention was effective in reducing cell phone use. that could also be attributed to other challenging behaviors such as disruptive classroom behavior and poor academic performance.
So for the methods of our study, there were a total of 6 students that participated in this replication study. All of the students are enrolled in an online graduate program at Ball State University, and we all live in various states across the country. For the setting of the study, each session took place in each participant's respective workspaces. The workspaces mimicked a classroom setting, with each participant having access to a desk or tabletop and a chair to work at. The participants also had access to all of their study materials, including any textbooks or books, their computers, or any notebooks as needed. In the previous study, sorry, can you go back? In the previous study, the teacher directly observed the entire class on a whole interval schedule to determine their cell phone usage. However, since we are all over the United States, we used an app called RealizeD, which was used to track each participant's cell phone usage. This app tracked both the length and time spent on participants' phones during the targeted duration period. So for our target behavior, we were looking at cell phone pickups. The operation definition of this target behavior is any instance of the students using their phone to text, call, or scroll on other applications. Some examples of this behavior are the participants picking up their phone or checking social media, any text messages made during this time, and any phone calls made. Non-examples include students picking up their phone and checking the lock screen for the time. If a student received a call or a text, but they're not actively unlocking the phone to return that call or text.
For our data collection, data were collected individually 3 to 5 times per week. We were unable to do group data collection, and so the Realized app, as demonstrated on the right, was very useful for collecting overall cell phone usage. RealizeD is impartial, so it picks up any instance of a student using their cell phone. The exception is that if it's on the lock screen, it generally does not pick this up. So for our procedure, we would set a 45-minute timer and then turn on our Realized app and set the phone to do not disturb, which will limit cell phone usage from text messages, phone calls, or any sort of external sources that did not result in us actually using the cell phone. So as you can see, the red circle demonstrates the usage after that 45-minute period. 0 minutes denoted no usage, and that would be a successful session within the group contingency phases. And the app also aided with IOA, since the app records all instances in time of phone use. We will see later in the presentation that the app was combined with video recording to achieve IOA during the various sessions. So data were collected on each participant's individual data collection table and graph based on these images of the realized data. The study utilized a reversal AB design, reversing between baseline and intervention phases for a total of 4 separate phases. During the baseline phase, no contingent reinforcement was provided and none was available. So essentially during this phase, participants could use a cell phone as they please during their study sessions. And participants moved to the next phase after consecutive days of consistent data. So our participants really looked for consistency within that data before moving on to the next section of the intervention or the next phase. And during this phase, participants will not receive any reinforcement for low cell phone usage, would also not be penalized for any high cell phone usage. So once the baseline phase was concluded, an intervention phase was introduced where reinforcement was self-provided if all participants did not use their cell phones for each 45-minute session. And we relied on the RealizeD app to check for this usage. 0 minutes on the app denoted no cell phone usage. There could be pickups on the app that didn't result in a total of 0 minutes, but 0 minutes was that cutoff because at 1 minute, it would show 1 minute, and anything less than a minute would show 0 minutes. So reinforcement depended on the individual Each person selected their own form of reinforcement to use if that group contingency was achieved. And participants returned to baseline intervention after that first initial intervention phase. IOA and treatment integrity was conducted through two methods. The first was through the video recording of participants, which constituted 50% of IOA sessions. A primary and secondary observer view the videos and compare it to the data presented within the data table. Observers time and report cumulative minutes of cell phone usage using a stopwatch during a 45-minute period. And then IOA is calculated through the simple formula of the smaller number divided by the larger number multiplied by 100%. Within this, we have the slight limitation that we could not use seconds. We had to use minutes in order to compare the data to the realized D data that's reported within our graphs. The second method of IOA data collection, of IOA, was through the upload of realized D data. And a secondary observer views the data and compares it to the number provided. This is done through screenshots of the realized D app, and it should generally be 100%, because a secondary observer simply needs to view the data and make sure that the graph has properly confirmed that. Treatment integrity was also confirmed for the realized D app, which has the benefits of tracking all cell phone usage and picks up instances. So this was created an immunity to human error as long as the realized D was app and turned on.
So for the results, we utilized an ABAB design to mimic that of the study we were replicating, and we discovered that utilizing a group contingency decreased the duration of cell phone usage. As previously stated, our realized D app did pick up duration of cell phone usage and pickups, and all data was placed into a Google Sheets drive where we could look and assess the number of pickups and compare it to the duration. But in the following slides, you will view the graphs, and the data put into the graphs is the duration of cell phone usage. On our variability across our phases was highest during our first baseline phase. During our intervention phase 1, variability was moderate at low levels of cell phone usage, with 3 of our 6 participants showing a decreasing trend. And during our baseline 2 phase, our participants and our data show moderate variability, with 3 participants remaining at low levels of the duration of cell phone usage with low variability. And lastly, our intervention 2 phase indicates that the group contingency was effective for reducing cell phone usage, as all participants were at cell phone usage duration of less than a minute for the last 3 study sessions that we completed. So here is a look at all of our graphs combined, so you can see that during our baseline 1 session that our variability, as previously stated on the previous slide, had high variability, but that across the phases, our intervention was effective at decreasing our cell phone usage for all participants. Okay, so now going over our means. So for participant bottom, you will notice that in the baseline 1 phase, the mean for cell phone usage duration was 19.6, but then at the intervention 2 phase, the mean was only 0.8, with a range of 0 to 5 minutes, showing that the intervention did decrease cell phone usage. For participant Kelly, the first baseline mean was 8, and then in our last intervention phase, the baseline or the intervention mean was 0.6. Okay. Now for Elise, for our first baseline 1 phase, their mean was 6.5, and you can show in the sequential phases that intervention 1 showed little to no cell phone usage, and then our return to baseline showed moderate variability, and then concluding in baseline 2, those following through data points showing 0 cell phone usage for duration, And then for Bella, you will note that our mean was 6.8, ranging between 2 to 11 minutes. So we have moderate variability there. And then for our intervention 2 phase, you can see that all of the study data points showed 0 minutes of cell phone usage. And then for our last 2 participants, you will note that for Louise, for baseline 1, that the mean was 1.7, showing low variability and low trends for duration of cell phone usage. And then you will note a spike in cell phone usage, so high variability for intervention 2, but ultimately our intervention was effective for decreasing cell phone usage behavior. And then for participant Benjamin, you will note that across all phases, that cell phone usage was under 0 minutes or under 1 minute.
So in conclusion, the replication of the targeted study showed that the group contingency was effective at reducing cell phone usage during study times. Most of our participants, 4 out of 6, reduced cell phone usage means during the group contingency phases compared to the baseline and return to baseline phases. There was 1 participant that exhibited higher usage during intervention phases compared to baseline phases. And there was a participant that exhibited low levels of cell phone usage across all phases. That participant did not exhibit any effects of the group contingency. There were some limitations that we ran into, mainly surrounding the geographical and time zone differences, and also just differences in our general demographic compared to the original study, which used high school students between the ages of 14 and 18 during a 90-minute class that they all attended together. This differed greatly from all of us because not only were we not in the same physical location, but commitments to work and family made it more difficult not only for some of us to be consistently away from our phones for long stretches of time, but also created issues where we didn't have a teacher role, which was present in the original study. And again, due to lifestyle, location, time differences, coordinating when we were all available to meet and be present on a consistent basis at the same time was very difficult, which necessitated us to split the study into our own individual study sessions to be reported with the Realized app, to do virtual sessions that some of which were recorded. But generally, we had to monitor ourselves independently with the absence of that teacher aspect. We also had to shorten what were originally 90-minute sessions down to 45, again, just to meet lifestyle requirements. 90-minute sessions were pretty much agreed upon to be a little much for all of us to be able to commit to on a regular basis. And then communication sometimes became a factor due to schedule restraints, creating difficulties in all members being present for each planned meeting. This required sometimes for us to have to reschedule meetings. This sometimes also caused confusions at different points in the study where things may have been unclear. The reinforcement contingency was also a bit of a limitation. It was unclear if it was as reinforcing as it was in the original study, mostly because we were, again, put in a position to have to implement that contingency ourselves and self-monitor. And though we sought to replicate the reduction in cell phone usage, our study did allow for the use of computers. Since we're all enrolled in online coursework, our study sessions often involved us being on our computer, completing our online assignments. Some of us, our textbooks are on our computers as PDF files. This could have potentially factored into data scores since we had access to screen time in that way. And what we were doing during our sessions on screen wasn't typically monitored. So here we have our references for our various group contingencies in our literature review in terms of the effectiveness of group contingencies in other studies. And also our photo references for the different files and examples, including from the Realized app itself, which was a major part of our study. And that is the end.